there guys, and welcome back. There's been a few questions online regarding the templates that I use to route out some of the details for some of my model builds. And with that in mind, this week's video is going to focus on showing you how I make my templates and how I go about routing those details. So let's have a look at that, and I hope you enjoy this week's video. So what I've got here is some 1/4 inch poplar, and this happens to be the back panel for the Cougar build that I'm doing online. There's some door details that need to be routed in here, and if you're not careful they can really make your project look really amateurish. So I'm going to show you how you can make it look professional and get nice, clean, crisp routing for these details. And the key is a template. To make my template, I'm using some 1/4 inch MDF. You want to make it large enough so that when your original stock is placed on the template, there's enough room on any side to support the router and make sure that your router is not going to teeter off the edge while routing. The main tools that I'll be using to route the details on the doors for the Cougar will be a 5/16 outer diameter router bushing, my DeWalt trim router, and a 1/16 inch detailing router bit. This is a pretty fine bit, and it's fantastic, and it's perfect for doing this kind of detail. So the next step, once we have our piece of MDF cut, is to mark the outer perimeter of our stock. This way what we have is a clear guideline where the pieces will line up, with center lines on both the X and the Y axis to give us complete reference points to make sure that everything lines up perfectly. I've also marked out the routing detail. That's these center lines and the middle line. These will actually be the routed details of the door. The next thing we want to do, of course, is to install your guide bushing and your bit into your trim router. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you the next step. Remember to keep it unplugged while you're doing this step, guys. The bushing that I'm using in my router is a 5/16 outer diameter, which means that from the outer edge of the bushing to the center of the bit will be 5/32 of an inch. You want to cut your template that distance bigger than what you need. That way you'll give room for the bushing to run and have your bit at the line where you want to be routing. But I've drawn the outer line here 5/32 larger than the routing that I need, and that is the area where the bushing will ride on. Now we're going to head over to the scroll saw and cut this out. We now have this center part cut out, and we'll remove it. We're going to save this actually because we're going to need it afterwards to route the center detail on the doors. So we'll save this cutout. You now want to use a couple pieces of double-sided tape and very carefully line up your piece with the original lines that you made to make sure that everything is lined up and centered. And using the double-sided tape, adhere your blank to your template. You want to make sure that everything is lined up at this point in time, because once you start routing, it's too late. And you can see just by visually here that my windows seem to be lining up in the center of my door frame. Everything is looking pretty good here, so we can go ahead and start the routing process. At this point, you still want to keep your blank in your template. Don't remove it. That's if you have other routing to do like I do. If that's all you wanted to do was that outside square, you could remove it, and I'm going to show you how in just a second. But for me, I need that center line to divide the doors. So our cutout that we kept still has our center line drawn on it, but I need to compensate for the bushing. So I need to bring this line back by 5/32 of an inch. I've used another piece of double-sided tape and glued this modified center section for my center detail routing. When you route these details, you want to tilt your router into the piece, just like that, using the edge of your template and the edge of your bushing as a guide. As well, guys, you can't see it because it's off camera, but please don't forget your safety gear. You've got some extra stock here of the same thickness of the piece you're routing. Give it some extra support. Don't let this rock. At this point, your routing is done, and the way that I like to separate this is with a 2-inch putty knife. You'd be amazed how much adhesion you get here and how strong it can be. You just want to gently coax it up, and it will let go. And as well with this centerpiece, just a gentle little coax, and then you can remove the double-sided tape off of your piece. So I've gone ahead and cleaned this up a bit and done a little bit of sanding and cut out the holes for the windows, and it just goes to show you that even an amateur like me can get some pretty professional looking results. A little bit of time spent making a template. Be sure to double check all your measurements because you only get one shot at it. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this week's video. Give it a try. Template routing is it's an awesome thing. It's a lot of fun. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next week with another woodworking video. Quick safety note on changing the bit on your router. Number one, unplug it. And it never hurts. On and off to make sure it's dead. Unplug it before you work on it, guys. Thanks again for watching.